I have scaled over 47 different e-commerce brands past $250,000 in revenue in just the last 5 years alone, simply because I've developed a repetitive process which works regardless of the niche or industry your e-commerce brand is in. And I know this approach can help your brand just like it helped these brands right here, like this one where it went to $800,000 per month in revenue just in a 30-day period, or this brand right here where we're scaling it to $745,000 per month at a 5.01x ROAS, or maybe this brand right here which is scaling to over $250,000 right now at a 6.82x ROAS. Now, for this process to work, for these simple ways to work, the first thing we have to begin with is market research, because without market research, this process does not exist. Now, one of the first things you want to understand with Google Ads and market research is it's all based around your keywords. Whatever keyword you're looking for, whatever your main keywords are, your market research should be based around them. And then you can create a generic average strategy which goes for your other keywords as well. But the way we like to do it is essentially we like to start off by finding, first of all, the key search terms which describe our brand in detail. For example, if I were in the niche selling, for example, 3D printers, then one of the major keywords would be 3D printer. So what we would do is we would go on Google and type in the keyword 3D printer, and from here our market research would begin. What I'm trying to understand is basically I'm trying to analyze my top 5 competitors that are ranking up here in the top 5 or the top 10 listings to understand what their approach is with Google. Now, when I say top 5 competitors, I don't mean a competitor like Amazon, because even if Amazon is number 1, number 2, number 3, they're technically not your competitor because you cannot ever beat them when it comes to the budgets, bids, etc. So you might as well ignore them. You rather want to focus on your real competitors, like maybe those selling something similar to yours, or maybe those that have a similar pricing to your products, etc. I classify these brands as competitors, and there's only a few things I'm trying to understand when I'm analyzing these competitors. Number 1, I'm trying to analyze their titles. Number 2, I'm analyzing their product images. And number 3, I'm analyzing their Google Merchant Center programs along with the pricing. These are just 4 major things which I analyze when looking at these competitors. And what I'm trying to understand is, first of all, when it comes to product titles, are their product titles big or small? Remember, one of the most important things you can do with Google Ads is to do the opposite of what your competitor is doing. And this starts with the product titles. In this situation, we see that there's more smaller product titles compared to the larger ones. Hence, what we would do when we're creating our own product title is to make ours a bit lengthier with more SEO keywords, with more perceived value, because this helps us do the opposite of our competitors and lays out the right foundation for us to scale to over $250,000. But that's not all. Now, moving on to the pricing itself. We notice there's 3D printers for $29,000. We notice there's 3D printers for $160. What we're trying to do is not be the cheapest. We're trying to basically match the perceived value of our product with, essentially what your product image is, the title, etc. Whatever the value of your product is that the user can see through this ad, which is what the user sees essentially, you want to match it to the pricing. So if your product seems to be worth $28,000, it should be visible in that manner in terms of how you approach your product images, titles, etc. In this situation, because it's such a bland ad, there's a very small chance somebody would actually pay $29,000 for a product like this, unless it's extraordinary, unless it has some extra features, etc. However, it's not really capturing your attention. Like, for example, this brand and this product does right here. It's only $800, but the way it stands, it's very high perceived value. You can almost see the value oozing out of the screen from this product itself. They have a grayish background which allows them to stand out, and this is essentially what you're trying to understand what your competitors are doing, because then it comes to doing the opposite of them. So that means in terms of product images, if majority are white background, you do a lifestyle image like Pusa Research, or if majority is lifestyle, then you do a plain white background like maybe what Amazon did right here. It's as simple as that. Same thing for the Google Merchant Center programs. Again, if everybody has reviews, you don't want reviews. If nobody has reviews or barely anybody has reviews, then you want to go ahead and add some reviews in. That's why Pusa Research is really standing out, because not only do they have a unique ad approach, but they also have reviews when nobody else does. They're doing things such as adding information in the back end, which is why it says 3D printer, Prusa Black right over here. But that's the first step, the research phase of your ads. Now, this brings us to the second stage of going past $250,000 every month, which is the optimization phase. To get the algorithm on your side, you need to optimize things. You need to optimize your foundation. The first way is by making improvements on the back end based on real data, not just random numbers, but real data based on your entire brand. Maybe you have sales in the past 2 years for a product, or maybe certain keywords you saw in Google Ads. We're getting you sales. You want to use that data and optimize the back end based on that data first. It's all about data-driven optimization, because then it brings us to the second phase of optimization, which is landing page changes. Again, the most important thing you want to do here is research your competitors and understand, number one, what they're doing, but most important of all, what they're not doing. For instance, if you notice a competitor have a lot of things going on their landing pages, there's a lot of trust badges, timers, and it's just a bunch of stuff which is really distracting. Well, you want to come in as a solution to that with your landing page being extremely simple, extremely straightforward. This is again doing the opposite of your competitors. Once landing page is in points, your conversion rate will start to become very steady, very high, and that's when you can move on to the third thing, which is ad account improvements. Now, in this situation, certain ad account improvements, if you go, for example, within your account and you go to tools right over here to content suitability, one of the easiest things you can do is prime your ad accounts up for massive success. This is exactly what we do for a lot of the brands we handle under my agency or marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But the number one thing you can do with content suitability is to come down here to the excluded placements and basically start excluding any types of apps on a mobile device. These apps lead you to no profitable scale. They lead you to a lot of inefficiency and money wasted. So you want to completely get rid of them. Same thing with other things like excluded content themes, for example. If you know that you don't get sales around the gaming genre or politics or religion, go in and exclude this. This primes your ad account for success right from the beginning, or even if you're scaling right now, it's going to prime your account for better success and efficiency rather than you just wasting money unnecessarily. But now, once things are optimized, once things are ready to really be scaled, that's when we will move on to the strategy improvement stage. The best way to improve your strategy is by essentially segregating out your products and your strategies based on previous data. So what I like to apply for a lot of the brands we work with is something called the TPS approach, which stands for testing, profitability, and scaling. Now, with this TPS approach in terms of the products, we basically segment out products which are getting tested separately from those that are already profitable or scaling. We don't want to change what's working. If a product is working, we don't want to exclude it and risk it not working in another approach. So we keep it where it is and we take out the bad products or the products not getting tested, and we implement a strategy number 2 for, again, testing. But the first testing campaign is then transition into a profitability campaign and a scaling campaign. We keep on doing this over and over as we segment products out. Very simple approach, but it works for basically any brand out there. And once you do this enough times, you'll notice that your brand is naturally starting to scale, is naturally having a high return on ad spend and just revenue in general. So in this situation, you go on to the scaling phase. Now, in terms of scaling, there's 2 ways to go about it. First way is with horizontal scaling. Second way is with vertical scaling. And horizontal scaling essentially stands for scaling based around adding different campaigns in. So you could add in search campaigns, YouTube campaigns, whatever is necessary for your brand and whatever your brand is right now, you should add basically. And second way of scaling is vertical scaling, where you're essentially increasing the budget of whatever's working. You want to keep things very simple here. You don't want to make it too complex. The second way to scale is based on impression share. Now, the way to scale your impression share with Google is essentially by bidding higher. But you don't want to bid higher and sacrifice profitability during the process. Instead, you want to rely more on smart bidding and let the algorithm decide what the perfect bid should be for your brand. And this finally brings us to the third way of really scaling, which is bundling up your best-selling products, bundling up complementary products, and then running individual campaigns, smart bidding based around these products. Once you do all of these 3 things and you combine everything from the start, from market research to optimization to strategy improvements, that's when you will really be able to scale your brand consistently past $250,000 per month in revenue, because this is the exact step-by-step process we take for a lot of the brands we handle, which again, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra upskilling to the next level, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen.